This man has maintained this position for 2 entire days. But he's not exercising. He's doing it because man-eating monsters lurk beneath the sand. Just as the monster was about to entangle him, he used his remaining strength to leap onto the table. Although he luckily saved his life, his belly had already been severely scratched. With no time to waste, Mark could only endure the excruciating pain and began searching through his backpack for useful supplies. At that moment, a banana suddenly fell out of the sand. Mark reached down without hesitation to pick it up, but suddenly realized why he hadn't been attacked by the monster earlier. So he took the banana and carefully approached the sand again. He discovered that whenever he got close to the fire pit, the monster would immediately burrow back into the sand. It turned out the monster was afraid of fire. To confirm his theory, Mark made a bold attempt, closing his eyes and jumping directly into the fire pit. Sure enough, the monster didn't attack him, proving his guess was correct. However, their relief didn't last long, as the wound on Mark's stomach began to severely deteriorate. The intense pain caused him to instantly lose consciousness and collapse. Seeing this from a distance, Annie realized they couldn't continue waiting passively for death, and decided to retrieve her phone from the trunk to call for help. She carefully stood on the rear bumper, inserted the key, and tried to open the trunk. Finally, she opened it, but there wasn't enough space for her feet. Just then, a police car suddenly drove by, and the sharp siren startled Annie. Losing her balance, she fell onto the trunk, and her fingers were caught painfully in the car's crevice. The others hurriedly shouted to the sheriff, telling him there were monsters in the sand, and urging him not to get out of the car. But the sheriff didn't believe their absurd claims and stepped directly out of his vehicle. Surprisingly, nothing happened to him. It turned out the monsters could only attack when they contacted skin, and since the sheriff was wearing thick leather shoes, the monsters couldn't penetrate them. Just when everyone thought they were finally safe, the police officer accidentally dropped his car keys on the beach. The sheriff bent down to pick up the keys, but unexpectedly, the next second his hand was firmly sucked into the sand. Then his entire arm was dragged into the sand, and after a scream of agony, he completely disappeared into the beach. Everyone's hope of escape was shattered once again. At that moment, Jack King suddenly had a flash of inspiration, remembering that the monsters could only attack exposed skin. He suggested wrapping towels around their feet so the monsters couldn't harm them. He immediately asked Anna to throw over the towels from the car. However, just as Anna was throwing the second towel, the guardrail suddenly loosened, and Mark accidentally fell down.